This is AUGforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Repay. Repay offers omni-channel integrated payment solutions for Acumatica users. Whether you are making B2B payments or collecting them, Repay is your full-service payments provider. Power up your payments to empower your business and accelerate the AP and AR payment flow through one seamless integration. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is Velixo. Velixo is an award-winning provider of Excel-based reporting solutions for Acumatica. With Velixo, you can build financial, project, and other business reports in Excel with live Acumatica data in just a few minutes and get the answers you need. If you know Excel, you can do it. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. Guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Today is Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, and this is episode number 75. Daniel Byrum, Director of Operations at Inc. Enterprise. Daniel, hopefully I pronounced your last name correctly. I'll let you introduce yourself, who you are and what you do, who you work for and what you do there.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's an interesting one for sure. I usually get Byrum or Byron or some version of it, but Byrum, you got it right. So yeah, I'm the kind of warehouse manager here at Inc. We're a small business, so like most small businesses, everyone wears several hats, and so the kind of main hat, I guess, would be warehouse manager, operations manager, all that kind of stuff. So I've been at Inc. for almost 4 years, I guess. And then we've been using Acumatica for about that amount of time. So I came on about 4 months before we went live with Acumatica. So mine and Acumatica's story at Inc. kind of aligns pretty well. So anyways,
Excellent.
we are... Yeah.
Before we get to that, let's
Sure.
dip back into your origin story. So, where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to college, if you did go to college? And what was your first job right out of school?
Yeah, so I grew up here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I've lived all over the state a little bit. So I've lived in Fayetteville, which is kind of the northwest corner of the state, Conway, Maumelle, Central Arkansas. So I started actually college in Fayetteville at the University of Arkansas, Go Hogs. Started in civil engineering, and then just through a series of shadows and conversations, decided I'd prefer to be in the field, kind of in that engineering form. And then I landed on construction management. So I finished at the University of Arkansas Little Rock with a degree in construction management, and have not used a bit of that, as it is a lot of different people's stories. But
that's interesting. I didn't know you could get a degree in construction management. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the Euler's got a great program there, and really good professors, and it's one of the better colleges for construction. It's actually in the engineering college at Euler. So a lot of the topics were the same, and I had a lot of credits needed from Fayetteville, and so it's kind of an easy transition there. And then what's interesting is, I do use a lot of the management side, project management, time management, all that kind of stuff here at Inc. So I like to joke that I don't use my degree, but I do use portions of it.
Yeah, it sounds maybe a little bit like an MBA from a management perspective, just general business and project management.
Yeah. Not quite master's level, but it's enough for sure. So, and then, first jobs I actually owned, before I came to Inc., I owned a small landscaping and lawn care company that I started, and just kind of decided, that wasn't really the career path for me. So I was able to sell that, kind of get out of it, and, found the job here, and there was just an opening and kind of a lateral move as far as pay goes, but I saw better career opportunities here. And then from that, it just kind of morphed into, what I'm doing now, which is, operations, warehouse management, inventory control, fulfillment, shipping, all that kind of stuff. So I, oversee a team of 7 people here. It's been really good. It's been a hard couple of years, but it's been really good.
So before you got to Inc., had you ever heard of ERP?
No, I had not. My ERP at the lawn care business was QuickBooks. So, there was no planning portion of it at all. It was all record keeping and tax purposes. There was no planning portion, period. So ERP was a totally new term that for a while didn't make sense. And then kind of the more I got to know the backbones of Inc., the more I realized, oh yeah, this a pretty valuable little piece of software here. So.
And say again, what did you originally get hired to do at Inc.?
So originally I came in as just the shipping guy. So that was kind of my entry into the company. And so pretty much all I did was, take orders and slap labels on them, get them into our customers' hands. And, like I guess, claw your way up from the bottom success story, just take the responsibilities you're given and do well with them. And then you'll be given more responsibilities and just kind of grow into the company. And so, yeah, I started just shipping boxes out the door, and, then kind of started with inventory management. And like I said, my background, is in engineering a little bit. And so, process engineering, that kind of thing, I was kind of able to get my foot in the door there as well. And, just see problems that were going on throughout the company and just being able to offer solutions and, kind of being highlighted to being that kind of, process engineer kind of guy. So, that was
what do you think were some things like from your construction management, either from the degree or just from the interest you had at the time? What would you say carried over into that process improvement mindset? I mean, is it similar to when I think construction, I think like building a building? Are there any parallels you think between building something and improving processes?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think about when you're building a building, whether it's a house or a, 200,000 square foot warehouse or a, 200-story skyscraper, you've got your plans and the blueprints, but, inevitably a beam is going to come short or it's going to be late, and you've got to adjust and, kind of change and adapt. So there's those kind of issues, but then there's also issues of you've got, 150 concrete trucks lined up, and, you got to get 10 of them in at the same time, and you've got one entrance. How do you do that? Well, you've got to engineer a process around, once this one moves into this place, this one moves into that place. And, it's a different kind of workflow, but it's all the same kind of workflow. You got to have parts that move in and parts that move out. And you're just kind of replacing different pieces with other pieces and kind of making it fit. So, it takes a kind of mindset of knowing how big your puzzle pieces are and how you can shave corners of those puzzle pieces off to fit them into the places they need to go. So for sure, it's obviously different, but it's paralleled pretty nicely.
That reminds me of a quote that I have pinned to my wall. It's from Dwight D. Eisenhower. It says, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." And of course, he helped plan D-Day one of the, maybe you could call that the largest project management endeavor of
Yeah,
the
for sure.
20th century. And
Mhm.
I think kind of what you're describing there is it's not this ivory tower mindset, right? You do need a planning process. Without that, you're sunk. But it's not this ivory tower academic version of it. You have to be able to adjust when the real world happens, right? And I could see that there is a lot of similarity between construction and implementing ERP from that standpoint. There's
Yeah, for
your
sure.
plan, and then there's what you
What?
actually do when you get into it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you start taking steps. We like to use mountain analogies around here. So if you're climbing a mountain and you see your trail way off in the distance, you know kind of how to get there, but you may not see the valley that's in your way, or you may, trip over the rock that's right in front of you, so you just kind of always have to take the next step and, adjust your footing and adjust your eyesight, and, keep an eye on the goal, but also, keep an eye on what's right in front of you and what you can control. So there's definitely a lot of adjusting that needs to happen, but you're right. I mean, if you don't have a plan, then you're completely lost, but the plan inevitably will change.
So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the implementation, but before we do, were you involved at all in the selection process? Like what other options did you look at other than Acumatica?
So I was not, really involved in the actual selection process. Like I said, I came in, we were probably 4 or 5 months down the road of looking when I, started here. We had a consultant that was a friend, fellow entrepreneur, as one of our owners and CEO. And he was kind of helping guide that process. So he was, really instrumental in both finding Acumatica and then, ultimately choosing it. I know several of the qualifications for us were cloud-based, robust, integratable, customizable, all these things that I think it's interesting, being a guy that really never heard about ERP. And then now I've been to 2 summits and, have kind of fully immersed myself in this world. And so being fairly new into that, all those kind of hot topics, are probably pretty numb to you. I mean, you hear those words all the time, but the reality is there's a ton of people that don't realize there's these kind of platforms out there that you can, shift the way data is presented, and you can plug stuff into it easily, and you can work from home and all these kind of things. So those are some of the qualifications that we were looking for. I know we were looking, so we're primarily a screen printer. So we put ink on shirts and then, either sell them, on an e-commerce platform or just ship them in bulk to our customers. So we looked at several industry specific ERPs, including like Printavo. I'm blanking on some of the other ones, but there were a few kind of front runners. There's probably 3, and then obviously Acumatica with info sourcing and PrintShop. They are our VAR. And so they have a really great industry specific application that sits on top of Acumatica that we obviously utilize every day. So to answer your question, I was not directly involved in the decision, but since then I've been a pretty massive champion of Acumatica. And one of the things that we continue to talk about as a team is just getting more and more out of Acumatica. And it seems like every single door that we open, there's 3 more doors we can go in and find new things. So
That's cool. Yeah. Right before you said that you use PrintShop from info sourcing, I was going to ask you if you did, because as you were describing the business, that sure sounds like a good fit.
Yep.
What about like company size? If you feel comfortable sharing, like number of employees, ballpark, annual revenue, or it's like a $10 million company, a $50 million company. Yeah, how big are you guys?
We have about 50 employees. We're not quite a $10 million company, so we're right on the cusp of that. This actually may be the first year we break that mark. So 2020 was kind of a throwaway year, probably for everybody. But last year we actually had the most sales we've had in the history of the company. It's been around for 34 years, so we had a really strong 2021, and then all the indicators for this year that it's going to be really strong as well. So we feel good about this year, and we're really hoping to break that $10 million mark if not this year, in the next couple of years. So we're right there around 10 million, 50 employees.
Interesting. What would you say drives shirt sales? Is it events? I mean, what are people printing shirts for? Like how did things come back so strongly last year, and why were they down during the pandemic?
So for sure they were down because of events. If there's no events going on, people are not going to be buying the event specific shirts, and summer, we do a lot of summer camps. So I don't know if you ever went to summer camp as a kid, but there was probably a merch store there where they had hoodies and shirts and stickers. And so a lot of it's event specific. And then last year, honestly, I think, and we've kind of discussed it as a leadership team, but we kind of feel like, when you take something away and then you realize you've been taking it for granted. So we kind of feel like, people were realizing, oh man, when I go to this event, I'm not just going to go, like I'm going to get something to remind me by, or, remind myself of that event. And so we think it's just kind of the given something, something comes back and people just wanted the shirts, wanted reminders of those experiences, now that we kind of understand that those are short-lived and can be gone pretty much at any moment, so we just kind of feel like it's that, plus obviously the e-commerce sector has really taken off over the last several years. And so we have a much stronger e-commerce standing now than we did versus, 5 or 10 years ago. And so we're opening up sales channels as well as, those events and things coming back.
Yeah, that's an interesting point on the e-commerce side. It's like COVID just destroyed numbers, for a year or so there, but then it forced people to accelerate their digital presence. And,
for sure,
maybe, over the 5-year run or something, you actually end up doing better because you were forced to invest in that area. That'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're already kind of seeing some of those, ROIs, particularly in, customer retention, making it one of the biggest goals that we've had is making it really easy for customers to order things, which obviously the easiest way to do that is to do it at 10 p.m. after your kids go to bed and you're laying on the couch and you can click a couple of buttons and swipe a credit card. That's the easiest way to purchase anything. And so if we could do that for custom shirts and, lower that barrier, that's kind of what we're looking for. And kind of our next steps for making a digital transformation on that side of the business.
So what are you using on the front end? What e-commerce solution?
BigCommerce.
Okay. So you got BigCommerce and then the integration with Acumatica. And was BigCommerce already there, or was that part of the implementation? And if it was, how'd you phase things in?
No, so we've used several e-commerce platforms. So we've used Shopify, we've used Order My Gear, and we still utilize those too. As a matter of fact, we have customers that are on all 3 platforms, and we're using the Commerce Connector for BigCommerce, and then we have custom built integrations for Shopify, and then a few other BigCommerce stores that just bring orders across. So it's kind of both been there in the past and some new things, but the implementation's been pretty good. The Commerce Connector is still not 100%. If there's this range of percentage for implementation, the Commerce Connector is still not 100% connected. We just kind of have the bare minimum of what we need to take orders and get them into Acumatica and kind of run things that way. So it's kind of a work in progress for us. Part of it is identifying what exactly is useful for us and putting efforts into the things that make the most sense on our roadmap. And so we're probably like 30% integrated with the Commerce Connector, I'd say, and looking obviously to push that along, but there's plenty of other projects and daily tasks and things that get in the way of pushing that across the finish line. So yeah, it's been good.
It sounds like you had Shopify and BigCommerce in place before Acumatica. The doubling down on it maybe had more to do with the pandemic than it did with Acumatica.
Yeah. So, well, BigCommerce actually was not in place before Acumatica. It was probably a year after we found BigCommerce. We went with BigCommerce because of some customizable things we could do on that platform. We have one customer in particular that requires a really unique payment method that BigCommerce handled well, and so we utilized that for kind of our enterprise level customers, and then some smaller stores that just kind of want a few products and credit card only, that kind of thing. We'll use either Shopify or Order My Gear or a smaller plan on BigCommerce. So we run 9 online stores for different customers of ours. We actually don't have like an Inc. brand, so you couldn't just go. I mean, you could. We have a few shirts, but it's nothing really to write home about. But we do white label for several of our customers. So we host, manage, do customer service for nine of our customers, that we both produce the merchandise in-house and then also sell it on a hosted site of theirs.
I see. So you're not just printing shirts, you're like an outsourced service as well, and that people can plug into. That's interesting.
Yep.
So what about on the Acumatica side? So remind me again when you went live, and maybe talk us through some of the challenges you faced during the implementation.
Yeah, so we went live, I can't remember the date, Tim, but it was, late 18, early 2019. And, the implementation for us was pretty good. So we came from Sirius. Before Sirius, we had Everest. And so everyone here was used to, being tied to a desktop, had to be, tethered to the server. And so we were all super excited about, being able to be mobile and working from home or from Starbucks, even pre-pandemic, but being able to log in at night and, get work done. And so I think a lot of the excitement kind of overweighed any pain points, for the most part. Obviously there was process changes that need to happen. Sirius handled invoicing different than Acumatica does. It handled inventory different. So we had to kind of adjust some of our stuff. We customized Acumatica some as well. And so, we had to rename some fields and add some fields and, adjust the ledgers and do all the kind of normal things you would need to do. But for the most part, it's pretty smooth. What we're finding now is we've done a lot of kind of in-house customization, and our bar's done a lot of customization. So, I think we're finding more pain points now than we did at implementation, just from, we upgrade and we don't realize that this upgrade is going to break this thing. And it seems like no matter how much testing we can do, something's always going to break when we upgrade. So we're always a little wary of going to the next version, but overall it's been a great. Yep.
Customizations, I definitely want to talk about that. Before we get there, tell us maybe what you went live with, and did you phase things in, or did you just do everything at once? Like, was it financials and distribution? If so, did you do it all at once or phase it? Was there CRM? How'd that work?
Yeah, so we just dove right in, everything at once. We actually had for about 2 months, we did training on our UAT instance just internally, just so that we could make sure every person in the make sure we could still ship boxes out, make sure we could still receive POs in and place orders, basically make sure that operations wouldn't be completely disrupted. But then, it was a Tuesday, I think we just said, hey, on this Tuesday, you're no longer logging into Sirius, you log into Acumatica. This is the day where everything flips over. Any work orders in progress that we had duplicates made in Acumatica. So it was about a 2-week process of like just turning the light switch on, as far as going from what is still in process that needs to be completed and transferred to Acumatica. And then after about 2 weeks, it was all in Acumatica. So it was just a jump in, no real phase in. We just did journal transactions and things to get the books, where they needed to be for up to that date, and just kind of ran from there. So
what was it then? Was it financials, distribution? Was manufacturing involved? Was CRM involved?
no, so we're on the distribution edition. It was financials and distribution, obviously PrintShop, and inventory. We did have CRM, and we found that the customer portal was terrible, and so we ended up never using it. We actually just killed it on our license this year. So we're looking at some other CRM. We're primarily a creative company, and so we care a lot about customer experience, and we just found that the Acumatica customer portal was not what we're looking for. I mean, it works well for a lot of companies, and we've seen it 100 different ways and different use cases, but we just think we want something that's more creative focused, really, really user friendly, and we just didn't find that with the Acumatica customer portal. So we killed CRM. We're using Pipedrive for our CRM currently. I don't think it's integrated though. And so
you do use something, but like, what is CRM for you then? Is it mainly a marketing activity? Like, because being primarily an e-commerce shop, is there a lot of lead tracking and things, or is it mainly just whoever's hitting the websites?
Yeah, there is. It's, I'm not super well versed in the CRM world, but for the most part, it's all funneled through Pipedrive. And so we do a lot of trade shows and different things. So any leads from that are funneled into Pipedrive, and then categorized and sent out to our sales force, obviously that way. And then as far as on the e-commerce side, we just kind of use the native tools that are in BigCommerce and Shopify, as far as the analytics and customer retention and lead tracking that way. So most of our CRM, true CRM, is done in Pipedrive, and then kind of on the front end of BigCommerce.
So that makes sense, that your CRM is kind of a combination of a traditional CRM, and I could see BigCommerce kind of being part of your CRM in a sense, from it. That knows a lot about your customers, right? Because they're interacting on your web portal.
Right. And that's one thing, again, we're a 34-year-old company that has about a 4 or 5-year-old fulfillment company, e-commerce company. And so we're still very young in this whole world, and we're still trying to learn as much as we can. So, that's one of the things that we're still not great at, and especially we in the last probably 18 months have really seen the value in creating a system of truth. And I think we're sold on Acumatica being that. And so now we're trying to figure out how to sync all of these other entities that we're using, into our system of truth. And so we're still on that road, and I don't know if we'll ever be 100% there, but it's certainly kind of on our roadmap to figure out what does that look like. Do we integrate sales or Pipedrive, Pipedrive, and use all these tools and talk to each other and kind of compile everything down. So anyways, we're still young in that and still learning, and I don't want to pretend like we're doing things the best way or even the right way or whatever, but we're doing things the way that we know how to do them right now, and still trying to learn. So
well, that's a good mindset to have. Then what about coming back to customization? So you talked about customizations. What did you do initially? What have you done since? What have you done in that area?
Yeah, so we've, I guess really, the main customizations would be kind of on the PrintShop side, as far as workflow and utilizing it in the ways that we need it. Obviously, info sourcing's got a bunch of different customers sort of in this industry, and we all do things a different way. So we've customized a lot of the workflow there, and not everyone's a PrintShop person, so we don't necessarily have to get into the details there, but just customizing fields, different views, kind of messing with the workflow there, and then past that, let's see. I'm actually not even 100% certain what all we've done. I know we've done some minor customizations to different screens. We have a lot of sort of specific reports that we run. With the eCommerce customers, there's a lot of reconciliation that has to happen there. So we'll take all the Stripe payments, and then some of our customers, we have to pay a portion of those back as royalties. Some of the customers, we basically manage their kind of fundraising efforts. So we cut a lot of checks back. So there's a lot of custom reporting that needs to be done to, compare, okay, this store sold X amount, and, our royalty back to them is 20%. And so we've got to compile all those orders for the month and figure out dollar amounts and then send off the royalty checks. We've done some other customizations to kind of the AR aging type of stuff. So we wanted a lot of that to be automated, which I know I've seen a lot of posts about automating, AR and sending invoices and that kind of stuff.
The reconciliation part sounds interesting. You said you actually built some customizations around that to help you reconcile things.
Yeah, and mainly it's on the reporting side. So there's not a whole lot, of.
So just a custom report, not necessarily customizing business logic or screens.
Business logic, right? We have customized a lot of the screens. Mainly it's on the reporting side. So it's filtering and sorting data. We've utilized Velixo to do some of that stuff. So I guess probably 70% of the customization is on the reports side. And then we have customized a lot of the screens to, we have this specific customer GI for invoice sales and this specific customer GI for inventory reporting and different things, raising business events for that kind of stuff to trigger to an FTP server. And so anyways, there's some kind of minor, I guess, in the world of code, at least minor customizations that have happened. I'm actually not even 100% sure what all business logic we've changed. Again, I have zero background in code, so if I try to,
it sounds like it's mostly in the PrintShop area. But from a reporting standpoint, since you have this kind of third-party reporting, I'm curious on that. You mentioned like business events triggering FTP folders. Is that the main way where you're just putting data, CSV files or something in folders, or how do you deliver information in an automated fashion back to third parties?
Yeah, that's the main way. That's actually relatively new in the last 6 months or so that we've started doing that. We have data dumps that happen, both ways daily for both orders. So we have not really figured out a great middleware partner. So we have one customer that already has an existing storefront. They're on WooCommerce. I guess I could tell you that it's probably fine, but they use WooCommerce as their platform already existing. They have a huge customer base. So they did not want to change anything on their end. And so when we developed a partnership with them, they use a specific middleware company for their integration between their stores and their ERP. And then we pitched them several different companies, including Kensium, including Celigo, and so we've kind of pitched several of these project ideas to them. They didn't really like any of that, so then we just decided, well, let's just do a data dump once a day. We'll send you all the tracking, all the inventory numbers, and then you guys just export and import the orders that you take for that day. So it's kind of to me, it's an interesting solution that we came up with, of just this once a day dump that, captures everything that happened that day for this particular customer. And it just kind of lives out there. And then for that, we use import and export scenarios to both send and receive, all that information.
I want to dig into details there, because I think it's funny how much of the world still moves on CSV files. If you look at all the marketing, it's like, oh, it's all APIs and all this automated stuff. I'm not so sure. I think I would not surprise me if more than 50% of the world's data is still moving between systems and
Oh,
CSV files. I don't know,
yeah,
but
for
I'm
sure.
guessing.
That's I would think you're not far off on that guess. I think that's pretty close. It might be even a little higher than that. Who knows? But.
So let's dig in some of those details. So let's talk
Sure.
about first getting data to them. So how are you doing that? You said a business event, you mentioned an export scenario. Walk us through the mechanics of that if you can.
So that's, fairly simple from my perspective. Of course, I didn't build any of this, so I'm just going off of what I've heard. But basically it's just, at this time, go out, there's sorting and filtering that happens there. And most of that is triggered around invoices. And so whenever there's an invoice for X customer, grab that record, right? So I mean, it's fairly easy filter. And then, once a day is pretty easy for us too. So just, I don't even know what time it runs, but let's say it runs at 2 a.m. Run at 2 a.m., go capture all this data. And then there is some crunching, I guess. I'm not even sure how it works essentially, but basically it takes whatever the previous numbers were for inventory values, updates those based on those invoices. And so if you've got, 10 mediums that went out today and your previous total was 110 mediums, the new total is 100 mediums for that, particular SKU. And then that data is captured on the CSV. Once it's all compiled, it's just, uploaded to that FTP server and kind of sits there for that customer's, to be honest with you, I don't know how they capture it. I'm sure it's just a go out, grab it in this location and import.
Well, it sounds like there must be some code in there. It's not just a
I'm sure there
scenario.
is.
Yeah,
So
there's some, it hands off to, you've got some kind of middleware that you coded, it sounds like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So he just left about 2 months ago, but for 2 years, we had an in-house developer whose background was in web design actually, but he was really smart, really good at this stuff. He caught on to it really quickly. So he built all that, and so I don't know all the mechanics of it. I'm actually probably not even the best guy to be talking to you about it, but I am.
No, but that answers it. That there's a developer involved.
Yeah.
There's some code. There's some code going on. Sounds like. What about ISV products? So you mentioned Velixto. You also said Stripe in there. I don't know if there's any other payment providers or any other what are considered Acumatica ISV products involved.
The other ones we use ShipStation, and then we use eBIZ and Avalara. So those are kind of all of our plugins that we use. Stripe has been pretty interesting partnership, if you could call it that.
It sounds like painful, interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, it's one of those things that they've got really high merchant fees, and I mean, say really high, higher than some others. And the tool itself is just kind of outdated, for where we are in our current tech stack. So we're looking for different options. If anyone out there has got some recommendations that we could look into. But no, yeah. So Stripe, it's fine. It does its job, but there's things that we would like out of a credit card merchant that we're not currently getting. So,
well, you said eBiz. eBiz can't just take the Stripe business, but how come there's both are involved?
So we use eBiz mainly for like in-house credit card payments. So if you're a customer and you come pick up your shirts, you can swipe your card at the front desk and pay for your shirts right there. We also use it for we have like I said, trade shows and different things. So we also use it for kind of POS credit card payments as well. So it's kind of our, I guess you could call it maybe retail front end, kind of credit card, and then Stripe is all the e-commerce stuff.
Which is the bulk of it, I would think, right? Stripe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Definitely.
And maybe some of that has to do with the fact that you have so many different stores and Stripe is just the easiest to integrate with. If you maybe just had one e-commerce site, you might have been on another processor by now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that, yeah. It is. I mean, that's probably the biggest reason, is just the ease of turning that thing on. We launch about a store every 6 months. And so, I mean, as a matter of fact, we had 2 launch this month. And so we're kind of in a mode of increasing sales and not necessarily decreasing pain points. So I'm sure at some point it will come up that Stripe is no longer scalable for what we're doing. And at the very least, we need to dig into some new stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
You said a new store like every 6 months. You also said, like, I think you said 9 stores earlier. Is that apples to apples there? Does that mean like 6 months from now you expect to be at 10 and another 6 months, 11?
We
or
have
those 2 different things?
No. So 2 of those stores were kind of legacy stores that we actually had custom PHP sites built for even before Acumatica. And those have since migrated to BigCommerce. But no, I just mean, in the last 2 years, we've done about a new store every 6 months. So 2 years ago, we had probably 5, and then now we have 9. We have 2 more that we're currently building. One is expected to go live in the next month, hopefully, and the other one is kind of a midsummer launch. So, that's just mainly it's an average, I guess. And, it could be a year before we launch another store, but hopefully by summer, we're up to 11 stores. And then, we'll see if that trend continues. And maybe it's a store every 3 months after that. Who knows? It's just what we have found in this industry is, particularly for us, is if we can help you not only design great shirts and produce a great product, but if we can help you get it into your customers' hands, that's really the value that we add, over other screen printers. There's screen printers out there that can get you shirts in a couple of days. We don't have that kind of turnaround time, but we certainly help with marketing. We help with, obviously, e-commerce, and so that's kind of our niche is. Let us help you and take the burden off of you to do all of your merchandising and get it into your customers' hands. So that's a commitment that we've kind of made as a company. Is just this is the direction the industry is going, and we have the tools, we believe, to accomplish this well. And so we're just kind of on that track of this is the best opportunity for us is to get into this e-commerce space and then bring all these customers that kind of have that following and have that vision as well and bring them into that space.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You're almost not so much a distribution company. You're more of like an e-commerce consulting company almost. I mean, it sounds like that's your real value. You're not typically, when you talk e-commerce, someone's got an e-commerce site and that's their site. But you're spinning up new sites and that process, the marketing around that. Yeah. Like you're saying, that's the real value there. And you just happen to be doing t-shirts, but it could be anything on the back end.
Exactly. Yeah. We like to say we're a people company and we just happen to make t-shirts. That's exactly what we say. It's like, we value people. We want to build both our customers, but also our employees. Like we want to build value into people's lives. And it just so happens that we produce t-shirts. And we really like saying that. And, because at the end of the day, what really matters is, Tim, you and I's relationship. What matters is the relationship we have with our employees and our customers. And yeah, it's great that we can make t-shirts and make a profit doing that. But, at the end of the day, if you don't have relationships, what do you really have? So that's kind of what we value here. And part of that is helping our customers succeed, and part of that is getting them into the e-commerce space. So that's what we focus on.
So, like, who would be a customer that would want their own store? Like, obviously, if I'm just doing a family reunion and I want shirts, I don't need my own store for that. But give me a scenario where someone actually comes and says, I want my own store and I want to have my own line of shirts. I mean, who does that?
So I'll actually tell you that you're wrong in that if you came to us and said, let's say you've got 50 people in your family for this family reunion. And I'd say, how are you, Tim, going to know what size your mom ordered and your uncle and your 2 cousins? So the best thing for you is to actually launch an e-commerce store called Order My Gear, where you can send a link out to your whole family. They order their shirts on there. They pay for it with their own credit card, so you're not stuck with the bill. And then at the end of the day, we just export those as a spreadsheet, compile all the sizes that you want, place the order for you, and then we send them out to wherever you're going to have your family reunion. And so they're sitting there waiting on you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that sounds too small for its own store. I mean, you really mean its own store, or you mean like a product in your store?
It to you, it looks exactly like a store. You're right in that it's just a product on an ink store. But to you and to your family, it's going to look like you have your own e-commerce platform with the Rodman Family Reunion T-shirt as the product. And, so I will tell you that you're wrong in that really there's no opportunity that's too small. We do have minimums to meet, obviously. So if you only had 20 people in your in your family, and so you only ordered 20 shirts, we'd probably tell you, hey, you need to order 16 more to get up to our minimums. But if you had 50 people and they all ordered a shirt, you're good to go. And
so that's your minimum. 36 is your minimum.
36. Yeah.
That's way smaller than I would thought. What does the URL look like? So let's say I'm going to do Rodman Family Reunion this summer. What's the URL look like that I send out to people?
It'd be, Rodman Family Reunion, whatever you want there, .omg.com or OMG store or something like that.com. So it's, it's not a great URL. We have been able to, so there are some stores that we host on Order My Gear that we do a domain redirect. So it's more of a, it looks more like going to inkcustomtees.com. But
no, I like it. I like it because it's only 3 letters. It's short. I don't really care what the URL is. I just care about how long it is.
Yeah. Backslash. Yeah. So, but no, other than that, it's, most of it is on the retail space. So, these days it seems like everybody's got their own brand that they're trying to start. There's one that we have attempted to build a few times. It hasn't exactly worked out, but this is a scenario for you that there's a local, honey retailer that they produce and sell local honey. They've got a huge following for their product. Part of that is merchandise. Most of the time it's, I just want a jar of Arkansas honey. But they also do merchandising with us. So that would be a prime example of, someone saying, man, I'm tired of, it's easy for me to do the honey fulfillment, but I'm tired of doing the t-shirt fulfillment or the hoodie fulfillment or the hat fulfillment. And so, then we start the conversation, about building that store out. What does it look like? Do you want to own the product? Do we own the product? What kind of turn times do you want? What are your minimums? And just kind of start the whole process of kind of qualifying that store. So there's definitely qualifications that go into the enterprise and even the basic level stores. So a lot of our, we do a lot of Order My Gear stores. We do probably 4 or 5 of those a month that just open and close, and they're up for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then we close and export and produce those, and then send them out. Like I said, we only have 9 kind of perpetual stores that are just always on. So there is qualifications to kind of get to that level. But for the most part, we like to have a solution for everyone. So we've got kind of 3 levels of stores there that people can choose from, and once we qualify you fall into one of those buckets, and then we get to building.
So you said a word there that I think made it click for me. You said merchandise. It's not just about, when you said t-shirts, I'm thinking, who are your customers? But then when you say merchandise, that really makes the light bulb go off. I mean, that's it. You're an outsourced merchandising e-commerce as a service company. You could handle what is included there. Is it t-shirts? Is it hats? Is it mugs? How far do you go into merchandising?
If you can put a logo on it, we can do it. So we'll be able to source. If we don't do it in-house, we can source it. But everything you said there, mugs, Yeti cups, boxes, stickers. We've done cutting boards and blankets, flags, printed books, pretty much anything, we can find a way to either produce it in-house or source it for you. One of our draws is a true one-stop shop. So we want you to say, man, I've got this brand that, AUG Forums has a massive following. I need all these things. You just come to us and say, here's my vision for it. And we say, great, we're in line with your vision. You're a qualified sale. Here's what we recommend. Start with this t-shirt, a hoodie, and, because you're in software, a mouse pad, and we'll launch this store. We'll take your orders every month. We'll do a kind of a sales recap. We'll do suggested products for you, and just kind of basically take all of that side of what is your brand off of your hands. And all you really have to do is get on a, once or twice a month meeting and just say, hey, how's my store doing? You guys have any suggestions? And then we kind of take it from there. So we can handle the marketing. A lot of our customers, obviously have their own marketing teams. And so most of our customers either send us or help guide us in the marketing efforts. A lot of that has to do with branding and image, and, making sure that what's being promoted is in line with their brand statements. But we can, send out mass emails and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we're truly a merchandising company, and really a little bit more than that. We're a digital agency in some ways. We're a marketing firm in some ways, and a consulting firm in some ways. So we're a little bit of everything. We really do like to be just a one-stop shop for our customers.
So I can see that swag for events. I mean, including Acumatica Summit. I could see that being something that you do, right? Actually, Summit specifically. Do you do anything have you done anything at Summit, Acumatica Summits in the past?
Yeah, we have. So 2019, we were a showcase there. And then this year we had a team go down. I was there this year as well. And we did some hats, some patch hats for them that were kind of thrown out at the nightclub dinner. So I don't know if any of your listeners were there, but it's an orange hat that had a leather patch on it. Really cool. So we did those, and it was pretty fun being out there and having seen those hats on our production floor, and then getting to see them on people's heads.
That's pretty cool.
At a nightclub in Vegas was pretty awesome. So
that was for Acumatica, or for like an ISV for Acumatica?
For Acumatica, yeah. So we've got a good relationship with Kim Plank, a lot of their customer success team. So one of our other big things that we love to do is live printing. And so, I mentioned before, we go to a bunch of trade shows, and that's one of the draws that we bring is we'll actually bring a press out to the venue and have shirts there that can either be purchased or given away, kind of depending on the model. And then a couple of different designs. And so, you and I could go up to the booth and say, hey, I want, here's my shirt. I want that design on it. And then we'll actually put the ink on the shirt right there, send it to the dryer, and hand it back to you.
That's
so we've
really
been
cool.
yeah. So we've actually been pushing Acumatica pretty hard. So Ken, if you listen to this, let's do it. We've been pushing them pretty hard to do that at a summit. So I think it would, the summit really is about an experience, for the whole Acumatica ecosystem. And so we really think it'd be a pretty cool experience for everyone involved in that ecosystem. So hopefully here in the next few years, we'll be out there printing some shirts on site.
That's really cool. It's funny, like, doing these podcasts with no prep like I do. I kind of realize things while we're talking. I think I've seen Harsha tweet about ink before. Now that I think, I didn't realize it was you, but I remember him tweeting about a PrintShop customer that did something at Summit. That's got to be you.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
It probably was. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we got to come up with some ideas for that. I love t-shirts myself. Coming up with creative t-shirts. We got to think of a creative pitch for Kim there. Something to do at Summit, t-shirts, hats, whatever it is, but some kind of story around it. Maybe it's for MVPs. Maybe it's for, you got some kind of design that you plug a name into, or we got to come up with something there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I love learning about companies that use Acumatica. Sometimes it's like, oh, I forgot we're talking about Acumatica. It just gets so interesting on the business side. So what about like looking forward, just to kind of wrap it up here, looking forward, you mentioned some things on the e-commerce side that you think you could be doing better, see if you can get rid of Stripe. Anything else on your radar for the future in terms of Acumatica or bolt-on products to it?
Yeah, I mean, we're still pushing, the Commerce Connector down the road. So I mean, that's kind of one of the biggest projects we have at the beginning of this year. And then we're still, like I said, just trying to figure out, what we're missing. So, a big portion of my time is spent, trying to squeeze Acumatica a little bit more and get some functionality out of it, or figure about this new space. One of the things that we have never really used until the last 4 months has been tasks and that kind of stuff in Acumatica. So we've always just used Teams, for kind of some internal communication type of stuff. But anyways, there's always little tweaks like that, and like I said before, opening doors opens other doors, and so just figuring out ways to use Acumatica better. And we have some big projects that are coming up that I don't necessarily want to get out on the airwaves, but we see a lot of value in cloud-based, fully integratable ERP that will allow us to enhance both our customer experience but also our company experience, and just put data at people's fingertips and make their jobs hopefully easier and better and more exciting.
Very interesting. Yeah, maybe moving data less with CSV files and giving people
Hopefully.
that kind of data portal where they can see
Yes,
where things are at.
for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's not the customer portal. I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of it either on the Acumatica side. It's very basic, but if you really want that tailored experience, which is so important, especially these days, more and more, that's your face to the customer. And you want that kind of data portal, right? That someone can
Right.
log in and see their stuff at, or their,
Right.
especially, their metrics on. That's cool. Yeah, wheels are spinning, even for the 50-person family reunion. It'd be cool if I could send a marketing blast out and know who's ordered and what size they ordered, have that all in a little portal. It might be multiple
Well,
systems on the back end, but if you serve that data up, it's almost it could be a marketing engine for the family reunion, at least,
for
like you
sure.
said.
Yeah.
Other companies have their own marketing stuff going on, but maybe you tap into their data source. Yeah, that gets really interesting.
Well, the good thing is for you is that, if you're the owner of the store, you're going to know what we're selling you the shirts for. So you can make a little bit of money off your family there, just a couple $1 upcharge on it. And at the end of the day, we'll cut you a check for whatever the difference was that you brought in. So you can make some money off your family reunion.
Well, even the Acumatica angle, the Acumatica user groups that I've been getting involved with, something like that. I feel
Yeah.
like you got the same thing there. You don't have to have someone pay for it. I think you got if you come up with a cool enough idea, I'll drop, what's it cost, do you think, for a shirt? Typical shirts like $10-15 that you see in a store?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably on that side, fairly simple design. I'd say about $15 would be what you'd be kind of aiming for.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you come up with a cool enough thing there that people want to buy, drop them $15 on. It's not that bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you don't have to convince anyone to foot the bill. You just, you don't have to get like a sponsor or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll have to talk about that offline. Well, hey, I want to respect your time. Like, coming up to the top of the hour. Thanks for the chat. I enjoyed it. Any last things you'd like to mention before we sign off?
No, I just want to say, appreciate you hosting this kind of user group and the podcast. And I know for me, it's been really helpful. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in my boat that have questions, that have a, pretty safe place where they can go ask questions. And so I appreciate all the work you've done on that side of it and having me on.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of AUGforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening, and take care.